It's a new day on Deep Space Nine, and Bashir's visiting Victor Cheese Fountain. It's a flying visit, as he's here to pick up some songs Victor recorded for him, and Bashir thinking this might be a welcome source of entertainment for troops on the front line of the war, as we're apparently off to visit them. The Defiant, which is flying in a mirror again today, according to the running lights, yes, I'm still checking them, has an unexpected guest along for the ride. For some reason, Grand Nagus Zek has decided he wants a first-hand report of what's going on there, and has decided to send Quark. I wonder if it was his mum's idea. Whoever it was, Quark's not impressed. We're off to the Chintoka system, the first, and indeed only, push in our invasion of Cardigan space. The Dominion have been hitting us ever since we took it from them at the end of Season 6, which is why we meet some resistance on the way there. Quark ends up on the bridge in a bit of a flap until Sisko tells him to piss off, with Eggnog embarrassed by the behaviour. We eventually arrive at the planet of AR-558, where we teleport down to deliver supplies. They're a wee bit jumpy if one of them pooping at Sisko's anything to go by, but the itchy trigger-fingered lad in question is clearly a touch rattled after being here far longer than anticipated. Besides, a little lack of discipline can be expected when enough of them have died that the remaining 28.6 recurring percent are now being led by a mere lieutenant. The reason for our interest is a Dominion phone switchboard, one that will give us very valuable intel if we're able to get access. Not that Lanier from Babylon 5's had much luck with it, so Dax lends a hand. We might want to get it done soon, as there are some significant cracks showing among the troops here. One's making jewellery from Ketracel white vials, presumably because it's easier than cutting off ears, a fact that convinces Quark he was right about humans being complete and utter scumbags once the veneer of ethics is worn away. Elsewhere, Itchy Finger from earlier reacts very badly indeed to Bashir trying to treat him. The bandage on a wound is made from the uniform of a dead guy, and he's conflicted about the fact that he couldn't stand the arsehole. Bashir eventually talks him round, but it's clear they're all going to need more than just physical healing. Bashir's busy explaining the psychological problems here to Sisko when there's a kaboom. Someone's done a dead as the result of a mine, and they're not the first. These are particularly devious toys, bombs that sit in subspace and pop out randomly, meaning you can never tell if a room is truly safe, even if you've used it before. That's not the only problem. Some Jem'Hadar ships have turned up, and in between shooting at the Defiant, have farted some troops onto the surface. Sisko's decided he's not leaving, so after sending off the Defiant so it doesn't get kaboomed, takes command of the defenders. First order of business, find out about those ground forces. Scanning's out because everybody's blocking each other, so the best we've got is Eggnog's ears. Curious then that he doesn't hear the Jem'Hadar soldiers before they uncloak. The lieutenant sees them first, and we poop a whole lot of yellow at them. It's Ketracel Necklace who figures out something's wrong when they don't fire back. That's because they're only holograms sent to make us open fire and reveal ourselves. We don't have time to worry about that, as another kaboom indicates somebody else has found a mine. Having those things hanging over us isn't going to help anyone, so Sisko tasks Dax and Lanier from Babylon 5 with finding a way of stopping the bloody things. While they do that, Quark's bringing food to Eggnog. Eggnog's not entirely appreciative, mostly because he doesn't want the others seeing him treated like a kid, which prompts Quark into a rant about how he shouldn't even be here anyway. The Ferengi Alliance found a way to make a deal, so the self-acclaimed peaceniks of the Federation should have managed as well. The political argument will have to wait, as we need to know more about the Jem'Hadar presence. No tricorders means Eggnog's ears are the closest thing to scanning we've got, so Sisko's sending him out to scout with Lieutenant and Ketracel Necklace. Quark tries to interfere with that, and the only real result is Eggnog's embarrassment again, so Quark takes his anger out on Sisko instead, and questions if he'd be so quick to send out Jake. Dax has managed to get the tricorders working, much to the admiration of Lanier from Babylon 5. Working is a bit of an overstatement, as they're limited to 100 meters, but that still means we can use it to sort the mines, if we can do a science to find them. There's good news for the scouting group too, as it looks like Eggnog's been able to find the Jem'Hadar camp. Their position and a rough idea of numbers is presumably all we need, and a quick look is enough for Lieutenant to decide we should go back. The Jem'Hadar have other plans, as while we're leaving, Lieutenant takes some poop to the back and Eggnog gets hit in the leg. Ketracel Necklace to the rescue, and he carries Eggnog all the way back to camp. He also brings back the news that Lieutenant is dead, and we're facing rather more Jem'Hadar than is strictly good for us. Perhaps in an effort to find news that's a bit more positive, Sisko goes to see what Bashir has to say about Eggnog. Quark instead stops him at the entrance, and after a little guilt speech, tells Sisko that Eggnog's going to experience a 50% reduction in the number of legs he has. Well, sort of. The leg that got hit is buggered, but this is the future, so normally we'd just grow another. Unfortunately, the shot burned a lot of nerves too, so whilst we can technically replace the leg, Bashir's not sure if Eggnog will be able to control it. A little more pushing from Quark has Sisko push back and tell him to shut his bloody cake hole. Eggnog himself is a touch more chipper about the whole thing, possibly because it's not sunk in yet, and possibly because Bashir's got him off his tits on painkillers. He's more bothered about thinking he led his group into a trap, but Sisko says he did his job just fine. Speaking of doing their job, Dax and Lanier from Babylon 5 are ready to do a science to those mines. A bit of beeping and booping makes a whole lot of floating balls appear. Some of them are rather closer than people would like, but I suppose they should consider themselves lucky that all the mines were outside of bodies when they showed up. Lanier from Babylon 5 wants to move on to disarming them, though Sisko's of the opinion we should use them instead. See, based on where the Jem'Hadar have set up, they'll need to pass through a specific area to reach us. Sticking the mines there will take out roughly a third of them. Dax has a bit of a twinge about the ethics of this plan until Sisko points out the alternative is being overrun. A quick scan along the defensive line to let we viewers know who's still alive is accompanied by a song from Victor Cheese Fountain, Bashir having decided it might help calm some nerves. Distant kabooms indicate the Jem'Hadar are currently having a very bad time of things, but that quickly becomes our turn when they arrive. Pooping abounds, and lots of Jem'Hadar do are dead, only to be replaced with more. They reach us, and we all have a bit of a wrestle. Itchy fingers the first of the casualties we know, with a knife to the arse. Dax is knocked down and saved by Lanier from Babylon 5, who himself takes a shot to the back for his trouble. Even Quark has to get involved when one of the Jem'Hadar tries to get into the infirmary. Sisko getting knocked on his arse and having a weapon pointed at him heralds the end of his fight, and the screen fades to black. Sisko's being woken up by Ketracel Necklace. The fight's over, and all that's left is patching up anybody still in enough of one piece to stick a patch on. Worf's turned up too, along with reinforcements. Everybody from here needing treatment, including Eggnog, is off to a starbase. Ketracel Necklace is off too, presumably with whoever's still alive from his group. Let some bugger else figure this tech out. No time off for Sisko, though, so we'll leave him to count the cost back on DS9 until the next adventure. It's just that a few hours ago we thought of these mines as the kind of ruthless weapon only the Dominion would use. A powerful line from Dax, but one that's not strictly true. This might be the first time we've called attention to how bad cloaked mines are, but it's not the first time we've personally used them, is it? At the end of Season 5, Starfleet stuck a field of cloaked, self-replicating mines in front of the wormhole. At the time, we spoke about how the use of naval mines was an interesting choice, given the real-world call to ban landmines while DS9 was being made. Public opinion of such munitions was overwhelmingly negative at the time, so showing our Starfleet golden boys dipping their toes into indiscriminate ordnance was quite the message. I'd remind you of how frequently we've had non-Dominion visitors come through over the years, and that there was no mention of a warning on the other side. It's not like our hands were spotless on the topic of mines before this episode. Still, switching to anti-personnel mines here makes it unambiguous that Starfleet is willing to do some very heinous shit indeed in order to survive. Morals are luxuries they can't afford in the face of an existential threat. I say that not as a judgment call, but as a pragmatic statement of fact. We're biologically programmed to survive. It may not be the heroic behavior we've been taught to expect from Starfleet, but it is human. Tangentially, DS9 has proven itself oddly prescient on the topic. Of the signatories to the Ottawa Treaty banning the use of landmines, a handful have withdrawn over the course of 2025. They all started discussing the possibility after the Russian annexation of Crimea, and they all border Russian territory. Showing Starfleet's ethics to be inversely proportionate to the threat they're under may not paint them in a good light, but time has shown the depiction to be a very real one. All of which might sound like I'm suggesting we just shouldn't bother aiming for better, and that's not the case. To respond to a real and direct threat with actions you otherwise wouldn't may not fit our idealized version of noble behavior, but nor is it entirely your fault. As with In the Pale Moonlight, sometimes a bad choice is also the best one. The salient point both there and here is we should always acknowledge the cost and should never assume that a necessity for now normalizes it in the future. To use force against fascism does not make you a fascist. To conclude force is the solution to all of your subsequent problems does. Morals aren't the only casualties shown in today's episode. DS9 continues its commitment to show war as anything other than gentrified and sterile. The price paid by those killed is mirrored by the wounds shown on those who live, both physically and psychologically. Trek has a tendency to gloss over the mental health aspect of the job. To be fair, that's because showing 10 episodes of therapy after every story isn't going to be great TV. So it's a welcome change to see episodes which clearly set out just how much the stress of fulfilling those Starfleet oaths can fuck you up. That's probably tied into an argument I've been making for as long as we've been doing these. A world is more real when it's shown as less than utopia, and its inhabitants more believable when less than heroes. Ketracel Necklace and Itchy Finger are about as close to full-on broken as we can get away with broadcasting in a family TV show. And our own motley crew don't come out of it unscathed either. Eggnog's injury is an escalation of what we've come to expect, main cast and regular recurring characters usually being limited to anything we can ignore by the time the next episode rolls around. Even the breakdown of Plain Simple Garak's brainial implant was considered solved by the end of the story, despite it meaning he was now living with constant discomfort. The loss of a leg might even have been brushed away itself, were it not for the deliberate decision to say it's coming with complications for any replacement. Eggnog's the one coming away from this the worst then, and that choice is thematically important. His reaction to seeing people suffering from battle fatigue was one of hero worship, the belief that there's something to aspire to. Fiction has spent centuries showing us that strong heroes suffer and prevail, becoming ever more impressive with each scar, and we're all the heroes of our own stories, right? To see him robbed of that further supports the message of refusing to sanitize conflict. And perhaps the whole thing is a lesson for us too, not just in what we've seen here, but in the expectations we had. Deep Space Nine has spent many seasons building up to the Dominion War, teasing how it will be our main source of entertainment later on. Maybe the choices here are meant to provide a deliberate juxtaposition to those promises, and show we viewers just how numb to the idea of conflict we've all become as well. Oh, and before we go, there's the return of the Babylon 5 crossover club. The obvious one is Lennier from Babylon 5, played by Bill Mumy, who was, of course, Lennier from Babylon 5. There is another, though. Ketracel Necklace, played by Patrick Kilpatrick, has also made the jump. He was Robert Carlson in the Season 3 story, Convictions. End of episode.
All right, then, I suppose we'd best give this a go. Excuse me, but does anybody know how we can...
I was the pilot of a prototype test flight, but I was actually given the wrong health and safety training about breaking the laws of physics. Instead of existing everywhere at once, I turned into a lizard, kidnapped my boss, and made babies with her. I called the Federation Accident Helpline and was awarded 250 bricks of latinum, along with a formal apology from my captain when she wasn't busy doing a murder.
If you've had a workplace accident in the last 5 years, find out if you're entitled to compensation. Call the Federation Accident Helpline today.
What the bloody hell was that?
I presume it was an advert.
Yeah, what? I were right in middle of speaking.
Yeah, they do that now. Most videos you watch will have them popping up all over the place.
But don't it break the flow of the video if they just put the...
Nothing beats a riser holiday. Whether you're looking for culture, relaxation, or just to Jamaha run your brains out, we've got everything you need. Book now for early 2376 and save up to 15 strips per person.
Oh, sod this. We're not going to get anywhere with that lot running over at top. Let's go back to the book.
Have you considered allowing the prophets into your heart? For thousands of years, the prophets of the Celestial Temple have been offering solace in times of need. But they can't do it without your help. For just 10 slips a month, you can ensure the will of the prophets is made manifest through the hands of their most devoted servants. Prove your power is strong. Call now.